Welcome, everybody, to Week 10 of the CFL Pick'em Show on the Grilling Truth Sports Network. The CFL Pick'em Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care and Technologies, the future of sports medicine. If you want to find out more about them, go to thegrillingtruth.net, click on the banner at the top of the page. I am your host for the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in one of my two co-hosts, Brian Schmidt.
Hey, good to be here. Always good to be here on a Wednesday night with you guys. So,
obviously, Brian had nothing to say, Robert. And, of course, we've got four-time Grey Cup champion, Robert Drummond. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing great as always, Another day of life, another day to try and make a difference in this crazy world. But it is what it is,
Yeah, and it definitely is a crazy world. In the CFL last week, we got three good games. It was a tale of two halves at BC Place on Friday night as the BC Lions reversed a 20-10 halftime deficit to earn a stunning 31-23 victory over the Edmonton Eskimos. Travis Lulay once again played well, 16-29, threw a touchdown pass. Are the Lions back in this, Robert?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I always say waiting to the halfway point to see what a team's character is, and what they're capable of. Lulay, the quarterback is the catalyst. I mean, I don't care what team you're on. I mean, with me, Tracy Ann was a catalyst. Doug Flutie was a catalyst. In Toronto, Damon Allen was a catalyst for me in BC. So Lulay to be able to go out there and come from a deficit from behind says a lot about what BC is capable of doing, but it's consistency. You have to do that week after week after week. You can't just do that 1 week and then not show up for 4 weeks and do it a week again, because that'll be the omen of any team. But for me to say right now that BC is capable of doing bigger things going forward, it'd be tough to say. But what a great win for them. I think this says a lot more about Edmonton than it does BC.
Yeah, and Edmonton, once again, Brian, every time we get ready to say that they may be the second or third best team, they do this. And the thing, if you just look at the stats of this game, without seeing the score, you would have thought Edmonton won the game.
Yeah. Well, the real number 2 team in the CFL, please stand up, because...
gosh, please, hurry, and hurry up.
We just roll through with the number 2 teams on a weekly basis. 1 week we talk about Edmonton, looks like they could be number 2, and immediately I think we are the jinx, because every time we talk about these teams as a pie, they're playing well, looks like they may be the number 2 team, immediately they lose. So I've come to the conclusion we are the jinx of this. And this is just another example. This did not see this coming. But give it up to BC. Played a great game, but I mean, you look at the stats, and your first thought is, man, there's no way possible that Edmonton lost this game. Just the topsy-turvy world of football.
Yeah, and I guess I'm going to jinx the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next, as they've won a couple games in a row now. They held off a comeback attempt from the Hamilton Tiger Cats to secure a 29-23 victory, the team's third straight. A pair of late penalties doomed the Ticats' attempted rally as they ran out of time trying to put more points on the board. Jeremiah Masoli threw for 251 yards and a touchdown. Matt Nichols countered with 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think right now they've won 3 straight games. I think, and I'm afraid to say this, but when you look at Matt Nichols at quarterback, Andrew Harris running the ball, and a solid defense, I hate to say it, but I think Winnipeg is that number 2 team, and they're kind of the team that I've expected all year to pop up and be that number 2. And I think maybe it's happening now, Brian.
We all have. I mean, we've all talked about Winnipeg, but now everybody in Winnipeg that's listening to this show is immediately cringing. But no, they have all the ingredients. Solid offensively, great quarterback play, solid defense, solid special teams. They have all the ingredients, but who is going to be consistent and be that team behind Calgary? Because every time we have this conversation, and we run the gauntlet every year, the last couple of years especially, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Edmonton, we've thrown BC in there a time or two. And every time, and nobody wants to be that team to challenge Calgary, through the season. It's just a rotating door. But I agree with you. I think that Winnipeg on paper, and certainly the way they've played here lately, has all the ingredients to be that team. But, boy, we just got to see that consistency.
Yeah, and I think Hamilton has a lot of ingredients. I don't think they have as many as Winnipeg, but they're a team that I think more than anybody is just all over the map, Robert.
Hamilton's a very inconsistent team, all the talent in the world. I think the distraction, and I don't mean it in a bad way, of, having Johnny Manziel, as the number 2 quarterback, just waiting in the work, everyone thinking, is he going to start? Is he not going to start? Is he going to play? Is he going to, trading him to Montreal was the best thing for them, because now they can just relax and focus, on what it is they're doing, but I look at it this way. You look at the CFL, you have your top dog, Calgary. Hands down by far the best team, the best organization in the CFL. But then you have, teams on the outside looking in. You have your Winnipegs, who I think is the second best team in the CFL right now. But that's on paper. You have an Ottawa who has the potential of being the second best team in the CFL right now, but that's on paper. You have Saskatchewan, who I think has all the potential of being the second best team in the CFL right now, but the psychology of the game is unbelievable. To take it for someone who's played the game professionally for 15 years, it doesn't matter how good you are until you step up and you show up and you show that you're consistent week in and week out. And Calgary's doing it. These other teams are not doing it.
Yeah, and that brings us to the Ottawa Red Blacks, and I guess I could ask everybody the exact same questions with them. They had trouble with Montreal, but they flipped the script this week. After leading through much of the game last week and suffering a heartbreaking last-second loss, Trevor Harris was amazing, completed 44 passes, 500 yards, 5 Ottawa pass catchers recorded at least 70 yards. But the question here is, Robert, who would think this game would go down to the final second with numbers like that?
I mean, that's it's like I just said. I mean, Ottawa's Jekyll and Hyde. They're their own worst enemy. They can't get out of their own way. At some point, they're gonna find a way and realize how talented they are and put it all together. I mean, if I was a fly on the wall in that locker room, it would be great. I could sit there and be like, young men, what are you doing? It's like, at some point when the offense scores this many points, when the offense is rolling like this, as a defense, you got to step up. You got to talk to one another. It seems like there's no continuity amongst that locker room, and this is just from an outside observer, but from someone who's played the game for so long and understands about winning championships. As you said before, when the show first said it, I've won 4 Grey Cups, and I know what it took to win 4 Grey Cups. I know what it took to have team camaraderie, team togetherness. When the offense is out there, scoring points, the defense understands that they have to stop them while we're scoring these points. So Ottawa is an enigma to me, especially in the East. I mean, the East is a weak conference. Let's be real about this. The West is a very, very, way stronger conference than the East. And at some point, a team in the East, it could be Ottawa. It's not going to be Montreal. Hamilton has the potential. It could be, but I doubt it. Or it could be Toronto. But Ottawa has the chance to just dominate the East, and they're not. And that says a lot about them, not just as a team, but as an organization.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've seen the last 2 years jump up, and the East wins the Grey Cup. I mean, we had Toronto last year. We had Ottawa the year before.
The year before, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the
potential's
thing.
There.
I mean, the key is just to get in it to have a chance to win it. And in the East is the easiest way to get into it. Brian, what was your take on Johnny Manziel? And on top of that, talk a little bit about Ottawa. I mean, Trevor Harris completed 82% of his passes for almost 500 yards. William Powell, averages over 6 yards a carry, 104 yards total, and they still almost lose the game. I was sitting here reading the stats, and I just had to repeat that because that still blows my mind. But what was your take on Johnny Manziel? I thought he played all right for the first 3 quarters. The entire offense kind of disappeared in the fourth, though.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he played okay. Again, you look for that improvement from last week to, the first game that he played to this game, and there definitely was improvement. Again, as we talked about last week, there's just nothing around him. I felt like his play definitely lifted up the, people around him. But I mean, you're talking about not a whole lot of talent there around him. So, I mean, it makes it hard, but I thought he played okay. Wasn't, obviously if he continues to improve, then that's what, everybody's going to look at. But, still not that Johnny Manziel magic that he had in college. So, I don't know that we'll ever see that. I hope we do. But, again, if he keeps improving, maybe we will. But going back to Ottawa, I mean, it was funny, before we do the show, I try to always just kind of get on and look at the stats again. And when I looked at all those stats from Ottawa, I literally had to look again because I thought, I clicked on the wrong game. In my head, I'm thinking there's no way possible this game was this close and the stats were like that.
Yeah, because the stats tell you it's 50-10.
Yes. It's just amazing. And Robert was just 100% accurate. I mean, Ottawa, it seems like they go out of their way to find a way to make themselves look, like they just don't want to be the second best team in the CFL. And, this was a game they should have won, by the stats. I mean, it should have been 50-10, not even close. But it's amazing how often Ottawa has done this, how often they've had. You look at the stats and you think, man, they dominated that game, and yet it's a close game that they've won. And there's even been games like this where they've had incredible stats and they've lost, over the last few years. So, boy, I don't understand Ottawa at all. I think I would give myself a headache trying to figure them out. I don't understand them at all.
This entire league, except for the top team and the worst team, is an enigma right now, Robert.
I mean, as a player, and it wasn't with cockiness, and it wasn't with just a crass feeling that we were better than anybody else. But every time we walk out on the field as a dominant team, it's like there was a reason we were all stars. There was a reason we were all CFL players. There's a reason that we were the better team that stepped into the field, man for man across the board. It's because we believed it. No one had to tell us, and we went out there and proved it to ourselves week in and week out. I had the fortune. I was fortunate enough to be able to be on some teams that were absolutely dominant, and I knew I was one of the best players possibly ever played in the CFL as far as a receiver and running back, receiver and runner as a running back. But it's because I believed it and I believed in my teammates. Ottawa just doesn't seem to have that moxie or that belief in themselves that they can go out there and be that good. They'll play like that some weeks, but then the next week they take a back seat and be like, they question themselves. You can always tell a team that questions themselves. Calgary does not question himself at all, and they're the only team in the CFL right now that doesn't question themselves.
Wait a second.
They know they are that good.
I think Montreal doesn't question themselves. I think they know they're that bad.
Well, you're absolutely correct. They know they are that bad.
Which
but
is why they're
it
that
can work
bad.
for you. Great point. It can work for you, and it can work against you. You're absolutely correct. Great point, though.
But, all right, so since we've talking about Ottawa, we'll start off with the first game of the week on Friday night. The Ottawa Red Blacks at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Brian, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team that we have anointed as the number 2 team. So by surely doing this, that they will find a way to lose this game. But I'm going with Winnipeg. Again, on paper, they look to be that team that should be solid, that should be a number 2 team, that should be right behind Calgary, and it's at home. Everything on paper tells you that Winnipeg should win this game.
All right. I'm going to agree with him, Robert. I'm going to go with Winnipeg. I think that the 3 straight wins, I think this is a huge game for both teams. But I think this is a chance for Winnipeg to really solidify something on their season. And maybe with another win here, then you start to see that team really believe, similar to a Calgary team.
I don't know about all that, but I mean,
I don't either. I'm
but
trying to be
it's just,
optimistic, Robert. Come on.
I mean, I'm just, I mean, Toronto. I mean, not Toronto. Ottawa's just a head scratcher. You know, it's just trying to figure that team out is just like it's just confusing to me. You know, I mean, I'm going to go Winnipeg also, and I'll say this: we're going to go Winnipeg, and I expect Andrew Harris to have a big game.
All right. Next up, Robert. A couple of your old teams: the BC Lions at the Toronto Argonauts.
Ooh. Ouch. Wow. I don't know BC. Yeah, for the simple fact, you know, I think the East. I mean, I've always thought the East was a weaker conference. You know, and I just think BC has more at stake in this game than Toronto does.
Yeah, and
I think I'm going to vote BC.
I think the questions at quarterback for Toronto. I know the rookie last year or last week played well. But also now, BC's going to have film on him, so we'll see exactly how good McLeod Bethel Thompson is. I'm going to go with BC also, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to go with BC as well, and everything you guys said. But also, I really like the way Travis Lulay is playing. You know, the one thing that he does is for the most part he protects the ball well. He
does.
He puts the football in the right places. Doesn't turn the ball. He's not a turnover machine.
Yeah.
It's what they call on Sundays. He manages the game.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for me, I look at that and I feel like that gives them a good opportunity. And Toronto right now is that one of those teams that we look at and we just don't know where they're going to go. Yes, the rookie quarterback came out and played great, but yes, there's now going to be film on him. And, you know, through the history of football, we have seen rookies, you know, especially rookie quarterbacks, they come out because nobody has seen them play. They come out, they play well, and then all of a sudden, they fall off a cliff. So we don't know what we're going to see from him. So until we start to see that consistency of what this kid can be, I'm going to go with BC in this game just because until I see Toronto become that consistent team, I feel like Lulay is going to give BC the best opportunity to win.
All right, next up we got Montreal at Edmonton. Johnny Manziel has been in concussion protocol for the last 2 days. But it doesn't matter who plays quarterback. I think we can all agree Edmonton wins this game. Anybody disagree?
Nope. Not me. Not a chance.
So we will go to the next game, which I think could be a really interesting matchup. We got the Calgary Stampeders at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Brian, what do you think? Roughriders got a chance?
Every week we can talk about anybody playing Calgary has a chance, but at the end of the day, Calgary finds a way to win, and they'll find a way to win.
They don't have a chance then.
No, you have a chance, but if I'm betting, I'm always going to bet on Calgary. It's like New England Patriots. You're going to bet on them because hey, look, on paper, everybody has a chance to beat them, but at the end of the day, they will find a way to win, be it their defense, be it the special teams, be it offensively. They will find a way to win. And I think this is no different. I'm always going to go Calgary unless something drastically changes in Calgary.
Yeah, I think Saskatchewan will actually give them a game. Their defense has played well lately. You got Zach Collaros at quarterback. But I think Calgary will win this in the end by 7 to 10 points. What do you think, Robert?
Calgary's gonna eventually lose 1, 2, or 3 games this year, but I don't think it'll be this week. I'm gonna go with Calgary also. They're just too solid of a team. They're a good team, and mentally where they're at in the season right now, these guys are still focused on winning games. The lull won't happen this week.
Yeah, I thought about picking Saskatchewan just because of that, but
I did too.
It won't happen this week. The scary thing is this. They're probably going to lose a game along the way to an Ottawa, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, just because one of those teams is going to come play one of those games where they play completely out of their minds. They're going to get the upset, and then the next week they're going to lose to Toronto.
I've lived it before. We were the most dominant team offensively and defensively in the CFL, but we came into games thinking that we were a better team, and we lost. It happens. But it won't be this week.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. That was quick. Anytime Montreal plays, it quickens it up by about 3 to 4 minutes when you pick the game. So when they have a bye week, we'll have a longer show. Brian, any final words?
No, looking forward to another week of CFL football. It's again, some of these games are going to be interesting. The Winnipeg Ottawa game to me is going to be a real interesting game, just because can Winnipeg start to solidify themselves as the second best team, or does Ottawa once again play badly one week and then come back and play great the next? So that's going to be an interesting game to watch.
All right, Robert.
It's starting to get into the nuts and bolts, the psychology of the football season, and right now it's where you're going to start to see teams, the good teams, separate themselves from the average teams and the bad teams. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the CFL is a long season, and it grows on players, whether it be the injuries or whether it just be the psychology of playing against certain players who are doing well or not doing well. A lot's going to be determined in the next few weeks.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Got nothing else to say. That was really quick. I think it's our quickest show ever. But, all right, guys, we'll be back next week. Are you guys good for, Tuesday night?
Yep.
You should be good, yep.
All right. So next Tuesday night, you can hear us again at 9:30. That good, guys?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
See, that's the great thing about us. You can actually hear our pre-production meeting before the show. This is it for next week. So we'll be on at 9:30. Make sure you check us out at thegruelingtruth.net next Tuesday. We'll have all the action. Maybe Johnny Manziel will play, but it's to the point where I don't really care if he plays anymore. I just want to figure out who's better between Winnipeg and Ottawa, and maybe we get an answer to that this weekend. So for Robert Drummond, Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.